But I really don't have any regrets. I really don't. I've lived exactly how I've wanted to. I've tried my hardest every single time. I didn't win the matches that maybe I should have always won, but I really gave it my all. So that for me is enough.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 90 of The Body Serve. I'm Jonathan.
And I'm James.
And we are back in the car again.
Yeah. We're here in Cincinnati. We're taking a little break from the venue because we just need to record in peace, in private.
And we need a little bit of decompressing. How funny is it that actually recording is decompressing?
I know.
But that's how kind of busy today has been.
Yeah, you need to get away from the tennis every once in a while. Just take a mini break. I just got back from watching Taylor Townsend beat Monica Puig in 3 sets.
Oh, she did?
She did, yeah. It wasn't really looking great for Taylor after the first set. Monica has a great game. She really does. And she was just hitting deep and both sides were working. And then, the wheels kind of fell off.
Monica's the type of player that I just don't understand why she's not better in terms of her results. Because when you watch her play, when she's on, it's like, well, damn.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate that those two had to play because if there are like two players who you really want a lot for, at least me, I want both of those players to find success here.
So the big thing today was that there was the All Access Hour, which turned out to be the All Access 4 hours with the WTA. And then we also got Rafa Nadal and Dominic Thiem.
Yeah.
I don't know if more top players will be made available tomorrow, but for today, that's it. And that was your first time doing that.
It was.
So right now, I just want to get because we haven't even talked about this privately. Mm-hmm. I want to get your thoughts about what you saw today.
Okay, well, so how it works is that the players just come on in. You're sitting around a table with a bunch of other reporters and photographers, and the players come in and they just answer your questions. It's a press conference. It's just smaller and it's
more intimate.
Yeah, and it's just not after a match, right? So they're kind of broader questions.
And typically at press conferences, there's a definite division between the player and press. Mm-hmm. They're sitting at a podium, whereas here, you're all sitting at the same table.
Yeah, just literally a round table. So the first player who came in was Karolina Pliskova, our current world number one, mm-hmm. who was in great spirits, gave a really engaging interview. And for me, I thought it would be very intimidating seeing these players up close and asking them questions. And really the only one who made me starstruck was Rafa, just because of who he is.
And he was also not in a great mood today, I would say.
Not at all. I was actually really surprised by his demeanor. The news just came out today that he will secure the number one ranking after this tournament because Federer withdrew today. And he didn't really seem too happy about that. I don't think he is happy about the circumstances in which he'll get the number one ranking back.
I mean, that's just a projection. We don't know. He
was asked about it, and he was like, yeah, okay, cool.
I get the impression that he's kind of over some of the same questions he gets asked over and over again.
He did say a few times, well, I've answered that many times this year. Yeah. I'm like, oh, shit, well, I don't want to ask him anything. Get called out like that. So we also saw, after Pliskova, there was Kuznetsova, after a long break.
She was a delight, as always.
Yeah, she was in great spirits, very engaging, very talkative.
There was this great moment where there was talk about politics and her being the president of the WTA or something like that. And somebody asked her, can we just have you as president of the United States? And we'll play that for you later on, but she quipped something like, well, if you think they have a problem with Putin and Trump, what do you think they'll have with me and Trump?
So Svetlana, and then Angelique Kerber came in, Simona Halep, Dominic Thiem, and Joanna Konta was the last one, right? Mm-hmm.
I was surprised by just how funny Konta was. We got a glimpse of that last week in Toronto when she did that video for the WTA, where she was doing splits and playing the heads-up game and all that stuff. But she came to play today. And I asked her about whether or not she just enjoys these kinds of things, doing these silly little media things and playing games. And she says, well, I don't really think I'm good at it per se. And it's not that I like it per se, it's just that I'm committed.
Right. She's determined to do a good job, which is really her persona on court as well.
Yeah.
She will put in the work.
She's got the work ethic and she will try and do her hardest. So I think we're going to play that one for you in full, the Konta one. At this point, we haven't even listened back to the audio. We're kind of winging it. So we'll play some in parts and some in full. It'll be a nice little surprise for you what comes next. Anything else you want to talk about in terms of the media today?
Well, Garbiñe Muguruza was pretty amazing with press. She has a big personality and a really just appealing presence in person, I would say.
She draws you in, doesn't she?
Does.
I told you this last year.
She makes eye contact. She's one of the players that I don't know if you said, but I feel like, well, I wasn't really predisposed to loving her, but meeting her in person, you do feel more endeared to her. She's smart. She's honest.
Thoughtful.
And
she makes an effort to answer your questions.
You can also see her learning to pull back, and she talked about that a little, which is probably one of the more interesting insights from today's press. So I definitely want to feature that in this episode.
Because she was also asked about if she was aware of what was going on in Venezuela. And she was very hesitant to speak out politically.
Yeah.
Because she says that a lot of the stuff that she said in the past outside of tennis gets misconstrued. And she even pointed out that whole "we all hate each other" thing was a total fabrication from the press.
Or it was a joke. She was on
but the way it was
show or whatever.
The way it was spun and run away with was not how it had happened.
Well, and we were definitely part of that too.
Yes.
I was really surprised to hear her bring that up, actually.
Yeah, she said she was being interviewed by a comedian and it was a joke and people just ran with it. And quite frankly, it's something that stuck for a long time and really put her in a bad position with a lot of fan bases, right?
Yes, definitely. What else have we done? I mean, today I haven't really seen much tennis because we were in press for so long.
Well, let's talk about the withdrawals because they're dropping like flies, especially on the ATP.
Man.
Part of the reason why there are only 2 men in press today was because most of the top 10 players are not here. There's only 4 of them.
Yeah. So Nishikori he re-injured his injured wrist in practice against Dimitrov yesterday. And he decided to pull out yesterday.
He literally walked by us probably minutes before he withdrew.
Of course,
that conversation he was having with his coach or trainer or whatever as he walked through the concourse did not look good.
No, it was not a happy conversation. Of course, you heard Roger Federer pulled out today. He did arrive in Cincinnati. He was committed to coming here and then making the decision. But he says that he hurt his back, kind of aggravated his back in Montreal, and is going to take the time to rest. It needs to rest. He's 36. He can't take chances with the U.S. Open coming up.
No. Even though he's won this 7 times before,
Yes.
This is small potatoes compared to what he's about right now. And the last one that fell by the wayside was Gael Monfils. We saw him on the practice court yesterday. I saw him whipping shots with Benoit Paire on court 8, having a grand old time. And he's out as well. He was scheduled to play Christopher Eubanks as a second night match tonight.
Yeah, so that kind of messed up our night a little and really screwed with the promoters because...
Well, it helps us because we put in a request to interview Christopher Eubanks, and it can only help us if he's on the winning side of that match.
Right.
Which...
He does have a better chance against Ramanathan than he did against Monfils.
Yes.
They're 2 players outside the top 200 as the second night match at a Masters 1000.
It's a qualifier
crazy.
Versus a lucky loser.
Yeah.
On center court at a Masters 1000.
And, I mean, the first match is a barn burner. It's Coco Vandeweghe and Madison Keys, which I'm really looking forward to.
A rematch of the Stanford final,
yes,
right?
Which Madison won. But I'm hoping that people stick around for Chris Eubanks. because I saw him yesterday take out Janko Tipsarevic in the final round of qualifying, and the kid can play. He's expressive. The crowd really responds to him. He's 6'7" and like 100 pounds. Like the kid is so skinny. He really does look like a kid.
He seems like a really nice guy too.
He does. I mean, the folks in Atlanta where he goes to school at Georgia Tech, people love him there. Like I got messages from people on Twitter after posting photos of the match saying, "We love him down here. He's such a great guy, a great student athlete. Like we're so proud of him." I'm like, wow, it's cool to see a young guy just blossom because he's still an amateur. He's still in school.
Yeah.
You know?
What are we going to be doing right now? Oh, we're also going to be trying for a few one-on-ones, right? So Chris is the first one we're going for. We have a few that we won't reveal just yet because it's still very premature.
Oh, yeah. And they could say yes or no.
Uh-huh. So hopefully in subsequent episodes of The Body Serve this week, you'll be getting some 2-on-1 interviews with
some Canadian doubles.
Uh-huh. And we hope you enjoy this episode with some of the outtakes from today's press stuff.
This is your second time we won a Grand Slam Wimbledon. How different are you able to handle the attention, the big high of that this time? How different does it feel sort of dealing with the after effects?
I think I'm dealing better than last time for sure. You know, I feel like I've grown a little bit in that aspect, and even though it's not easy, I said that I wanted to go to Stanford and play Toronto, Cincinnati, everything, and that's what I'm trying to do, and I'm dealing with it. You know, at the end, I face players that are playing incredible. They're tough as well, and I can lose, I can win, but I'm happy that I'm there, I'm competing. I'm in those rounds as well, because it's important. It means something when you face top players that you are, quarterfinals or semifinals. So I'm happy with that.
You didn't have a good result on grass leading into Wimbledon. You just got rid of that and ran the table. How were you able to flip the switch on that one?
You mean the week before Wimbledon?
Right.
At the end, I didn't really care, that I lost a match and it didn't go at all my way. But I'm like, I know what? I've practiced hard. I did a good Birmingham. And sometimes, I feel like I played terrible and I ended up winning the next tournament. It's not always, but it's very to be prepared. But it's not that important if you have a good preparation before. One match cannot tell you how the tournament's going to go.
Does it feel strange? I mean, in the run-up to Roland Garros, there was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of expectation on you to do it. And then to lose in the way that you did and then have to come back and then to win. Do you feel that you've actually managed to grow in that short space of time? Forget the year. In that short space of time, I see that there's a real change, a real shift in your sort of approach. Does that feel that way to you?
I feel like when I, after that Grand Slam, I'm like, okay, I know what it feels like to be here. I know it's tough. And I feel like, okay, I'm going to take this and I'm going to go and I'm going to be more hungry. I want to be like more hungry to turn this thing around, to shake this bad feeling that I had there. And I went strong to the grass court. It's always tricky to play in grass, but I'm like, yeah, it doesn't matter. So I was just like concentrating on turn things around. And it went well.
There's been a lot of bad news coming out of Venezuela. Really, I don't know how much are you following that, how much do you keep in touch with family down there, everything going on down there?
Well, I do follow a lot. People think that because I maybe don't share lots of things, because I don't think it's my place, or no. People think that I don't follow, and I do follow, and I read the news every morning, and I ask to people, and people come to me, oh, did you hear what happened? I'm like, yeah, I heard. So I don't want people to think that I'm not aware just because I don't get into the same thing. So I'm aware.
All right, and following up with that, how do you feel that the people of Venezuela are being treated?
I mean, it's been like this since a very long time. And I don't really want to say a lot about this because I feel like when I speak something that is not tennis, it's not going to be, used well. So I learned that I don't want to get into this, especially politics and stuff. I do know that it's a mess, and That's it.
Right, and back to tennis. This is one of the most competitive races for number one on the women's side in many years. How does that add pressure to you, or do you think it's good for the sport to have a race like this?
I think it's quite interesting, honestly. I feel like every week is changing. Every week depends who wins the tournament. Suddenly this one has options, and then the next week doesn't have any more, and then another name comes, and I feel it's fun. I think for the fans and for the tour, it makes it very interesting to have more diversity. It's not only one person, and that's over. I feel like it's going to be, coming up this U.S. Open here, and the Asian swing is going to be, like a really battle. It's going to be like who is going to qualify, and I like it. I like that I'm part of that, and it's a big game.
Is it almost like does it provide, do you think, more motivation because every week is an opportunity? Like every week you can actually surge up rankings. Every week you can actually make a move, whereas in years past, maybe, okay, even if I win this tournament, I went up one ranking spot,
Yeah.
It
does, yeah. I remember before, like, I won a tournament and I didn't move anything, but it's true now. Now I feel like, shit, I gotta play. I'm not missing one tournament because I feel like if I'm gone, bye. I'm 25 now in the race. What's going on? So I still feel like I wanna keep at least my chances. After if whatever the tournament goes, but I wanna be there competing.
You kind of become known as a big stage player. Mm-hmm. Can you say what it is about getting to a very, very big stage like French Open or Wimbledon that motivates you especially?
Oh, for sure it motivates me especially.
But it motivates a lot of players, but you kind of like rise to the occasion,
I don't know. I think I said it before. I like that. I like to be in those situations. I'm not afraid of going out there. That's what I want to do. I want to go out there in center court and having tough opponents, and my tennis goes better like that.
Has your mentality always been that way, or did you learn?
I've always been. Always when I watched, and then I'm like, I want to be in the center court, And when I was before starting the tour, when they put me, in other courts, maybe less crowdy, I was like, I want to play in the center court. What do I have to do to get to the center court? So I like to have this mindset since a little girl.
With respect to winning Wimbledon, you had a chance to enjoy that. How soon after that did you reset your goals and career goals?
They didn't change.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my career goals doesn't change. I know it's a great victory, but after 5 days, I was already training. Getting prepared for the American swing. Of course, I have another Grand Slam, which is, I feel it's different to have one than to have two. There were so many people that to feel that you have two, it means like I did it again. Mm-hmm. Who knows if I can get more. This is like another different, I don't know. That's how I see it.
As a young kid, you wanted that center court experience. Do you recall the first time you watched a center court match and where that inspiration came from?
I remember seeing, and I think it was actually French Open, because in Spain, there is always this Spanish tradition, and seeing, because I practiced in the Bruguera Academy, and he won twice there, so I remember seeing him, and there are pictures everywhere of French Open, and but I remember watching men's final actually, because I have two brothers, and and after maybe some women's, but not that much.
Do you ever show up to a tournament and get a different feeling that particular week that lets you feel that, well, I'm going to go deep this week, I'm going to win this tournament? Does it change from week to week necessarily?
Yeah, it can change. Not every time I go to a tournament, you feel prepared, or you're certain conditions, maybe there's altitude, it's more hot, it's rained, and I am confident every time I go to a tournament that I'm prepared, and I'm one of those players that can hold the trophy. That every week I feel. After, you play one match and you're like, oh, I don't feel this tournament. But somehow you find a way, and sometimes you don't.
Can you point to one particular tournament where you showed up feeling really good about what was going to happen that weekend you did win, or go very deep?
I'm thinking. Well, I feel good in Stuttgart, because I practiced hard there, and I liked the clay court, and it didn't go well. You know, I went there and out first round. So I was like, okay.
So you're there.
So it doesn't mean anything then, pretty much.
No, sometimes when I feel like, okay, I'm ready. There, you know, when you feel you're ready, you're confident, and you know that the other one has to really play well to beat you, that's a good feeling. But that's it.
Svetlana talked about practicing with other top 10 players. Is that something that you see as a good training strategy, or do you prefer to kind of keep your practice to yourself?
I'm open to practice always with other, you know, players, but I always try to stay with my, you know, sparring or team, or because it's just more individual. You know, sometimes when you want to compete and check a little bit and hit with, you know, another top, it's always good. But I rather keep it with me than every day with, you know.
I mean, I've wondered this, but anyways, can I go take you back to the French Open and the like 5 minutes when you left the press conference room after the loss? What were you thinking, like in that time? Like, was it, I don't know, what was going through your head, and then what were you thinking when you came back in? You know,
I was just sad, you know, and and I think it's normal. There is no bad part of showing that I'm sad, because I always feel when I'm happy. When I'm sad, I'm sad. And it was a moment where it has been very intense days, and you know, I didn't took a lot of time also after the match, because it doesn't really matter. I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk, I'm going to express how I feel, and I was surprised the next day when I saw a few headlines saying breakdown, tears, and I'm like, why? Yeah, it's not a breakdown. I'm just, you know, sad that I lost a hard match, and you know, a lot of emotion also in that match, and I don't know. I wanted to show also that I'm human and not a robot. You know, I'm not like here, because it's true. It's true, because I feel like sometimes there's players that are like so, like this, like an ice, you know, and I'm not an ice. So it doesn't show that I'm weaker because I show my feelings. Actually, I like it, and I just went outside. I'm like, okay, that's it. Let's go continue talking, and that's it. I didn't think a lot of things.
Yeah, because when you came back, it felt like your body language was different. Like you were kind of sitting taller. You were much more like
really?
you were.
Pay that attention.
Yeah, no, but it seemed like something switched in the 5 minutes. That's why I was asking, but I don't know.
I don't know. I'm like, okay, just let's just talk normal. You know, I think once like because I was like a little bit sad. You know, I'm like, you know, you're a little bit like this, and you're holding, and so once I think I went outside, took a breathing, I'm like, okay, that's it. It's normal.
Had you given into that emotion before you came in? Because right from the start, you could hear that your voice was going to go.
Yeah.
I don't think you even heard that last question when he said it. I think you'd already gone by then.
I think I was like,
Because when you left, he was like, oh my God, I can't believe what I've done.
Oh, no.
But, you know, had you had a chance to release that emotion before you came in, or was it in that moment?
I had a time, you know, but it just also came in that moment, and I don't know, because when you finish the match and you go to the locker room and you're still thinking, but there's nobody asking me about the match. So maybe that turned the match into explain and this, and I'm like, it came back as the same emotion, and that's it. That's it.
How are you able to shut out criticisms and maybe some bullying and trolling online, because it happens, unfortunately? Do you have kind of a routine just to get over that, or do you just ignore?
I ignore. I listened to Svetlana talking about this before. I completely ignore. I feel like the one that loves me today will hate me tomorrow, and this is how it works. You know, I can win a match and Garbiñe is the best, and if I lose tomorrow, doesn't matter. Garbiñe, how is she playing tennis? You know, so I always, it's true, but I don't care.
When did you learn this, to take this attitude?
I don't know. I think because before I was reading a little bit more. You know, when I was younger, I was more affected, and you know, sometimes I feel like in Spain they hit me a little bit hard sometimes as well, which is good, you know, but. So I decided to, you know, that's it. I don't have to read all this. And I think, like when I said before, when they ask me questions that I don't want to talk, because it's true. I know the minute I'm saying things, because I'm trying to say natural. people take that, use that in their advantage. You know,
It's
I
not
feel
really.
like-
It's not really about you. It's about the people who are saying those things.
And I usually have this talk with my team. I'm like, why do I have to? Next time I'm going to go to the interview, I'm going to be nice, because I feel like it's true. Because I feel like when I talk and I, express and I say a few things, people like take this word and then put it there. Like when the thing with that we all hate each other. I'm like, who makes this freaking headline? I was having an interview with somebody that is like a comedian in Spain, and we were laughing, and it was funny the way, and I learned, and I'm like, okay, there's certain things I know how to talk, but I don't want to lose the naturally, the authenticity. So it's always, I'm always there.
What's the best part about being a Wimbledon champion?
I guess having another Grand Slam, having this, recognition that Wimbledon gives, because I feel this, it's different winning Wimbledon than French Open. I know it's the same Grand Slam, but it's different exposure, and I don't know, the English world, I feel like it's very Spanish, French Open is like, but Wimbledon gives you a lot of more doors, and I don't know, I feel that maybe it sounds a little bit bad, but that's how I see it.
Yeah.
Last question. Does having brothers toughen you up at all?
Brothers?
Yeah.
They're way older than me. We
Uh-huh.
kind of didn't spend a lot of time, because when I started, they were already in university, and then when there is always this big gap. We have like 12, 11 years, so yeah. So
you escaped that.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kirby.
Roger pulled out earlier today. You're now officially going to be number one next week. How does that feel? And is it any added significance? The first time you got number one was also in Cincinnati, I think. So it's a bit of a coincidence there.
Yeah, it was a place that I thought I'm going to be number one, and happened in 2008, and it's happening here again. No? So yeah, obviously it's a bad news for the event that Roger is not playing. For me personally, obviously, be back to that position is something special. A lot of things happened in the last time that I was in this sport, injuries. Some tough moments, of course, and I hold the passion and the love for the game. That's why I had the chance to be back in that position again. So just trying to enjoy the moment and just trying to be ready to compete well here. That's the most important thing for me now.
With all those tough moments, how big is your sort of satisfaction now getting back there? 'Cause I don't know if you had doubts you would ever get back to number one again.
I say it a lot of times when I'm impressed, no? But if you don't have doubts, it's because you are very arrogant, no? And I am not very arrogant, no? So it's obvious that there is a young generation coming. There is a lot of players that are very good, so it's tough to be back to the number one, no? But it's true that Roger and me, we are doing a great season, both of us, and I think both of us will have the chance to be in that position until the end of the season. Depends on the results. One or other will have the chance to be in that position more weeks. So let's see. I have an opportunity here to compete well this week, and I'm going to try to do it.
You said your loss last week was the worst one of the season. Did you gain anything from that?
No, was negative everything. I cannot say. I take a positive thing, not, because for me it was an opportunity to go far in the tournament, and I was not playing bad. I felt that I was practicing well, so it's true that my opponent played so well. So that's a real thing, and I say it immediately there. Just congrats to him, because he played fantastic, and he played with the right determination. But at the same time, I felt that I had much more opportunities than him. I had a lot of break points on the third. I have 3-0 in the tiebreak. A lot of chances during all the match. In the second set, 4-all off 30, and then he served 4 big serves. So too many chances. If you don't convert the chances, then you are in trouble. But of course, it was a tough lose when you have too many opportunities.
At this stage in your career, how much does a loss like that linger? How long does it take you to get over a tough loss?
A couple of days, obviously. was a tough lose for me. It was a tough lose because being in semifinals, I was back to the number one, and it was an opportunity for me to add a lot of points to the computer for the rankings and to fight for a very important event. So it's a tough lose, but that's a sport, and in our sport, every week everybody lose. It's not like in golf that you finish third, you finish top 10, or you finish 25th or second. Here, you lose in semifinals, but you lose. You lose in second round, but you lose. It's a different story, and the word is important. So,
after Montreal, do you then change the way you may have been practicing before the tournament, or work on something especially different because of that match?
No, I have been playing great in Montreal. I played a great first round. I have been practicing very well, and here I think I am practicing well too. I think I am ready to compete again. Was one of these kind of matches that you don't play very well, but still you should win. That's what happened. And sometimes when this in the tournament you have this kind of matches, no? And if you are able to win these kind of matches, then everything can change.
So it doesn't concern you too much then? You're able to put it behind you pretty quickly?
Not pretty quickly, of course, affected me. Of course, it was a tough lose for me, and of course, it takes a couple of days to be with the positive energy again. But here I am, and I am practicing well. I had a great practice today. I have another chance of practice tomorrow, and I am excited about playing here. I'm having a great season. It's not that I am playing a bad season and now I lost a match that I should win. No, I am playing a great season. I lost a match that was an accident, and I have to keep going. I have the important event here in Cincinnati and for the US Open in 2 weeks. I don't say all of this is a preparation for the US Open, because it's not, but obviously I didn't compete for a while. I have been at home resting a little bit that I needed after a very long clay court season and grass too, so just trying to do the right things.
Sticking with the brand though, the brand usually comes with some kind of concept associated with it. So how would you describe your brand? What does it mean?
I believe maybe I'm not that popular, but I do believe I'm like fair, and I respect other people. I think you gotta be humble around. I see these values that are more important than any other values you can see. So you respect you. I think you deserve respect by respecting others, and also you treat people nice no matter who they are and who you are, and you cannot really.
Would you be interested in running our country?
If they say Trump is under Putin, what they would say about it? I'm not into politics. I just heard this. It's about lots about memos in Russia. You see about that one, but I guess I need to study for many years in order to be able to run the country, and it's very serious. To be politician, it's very difficult job. Maybe not really. You cannot really be very honest about everything. So.
Would you want to do? I mean, because like Marat went into politics afterwards, so there's a path here for Russian Grand Slam champions.
There is a song, "Never Say Never," you see? And maybe that's the song I would tell you now, never say never, but I believe I do a little bit better playing tennis, so I'd rather stick with that.
You're a veteran on tour. Does your perspective on practicing, has it changed over time?
Of course.
For example, I saw you in Toronto last week and you were practicing with Caroline and you were going full out. So like, for example, do you practice less and make that practice time count more?
Of course, definitely my time of practice went down because I'm not practicing 6 hours any longer because I would quit like ages ago. I practice less and I go more intense and more kind of concentrate the practice. For sure. And then when I'm back between the tournaments, I do also 1 session a day, 1 fitness, 1 tennis, instead of going 2-3 sessions.
Do you have players that you like practicing with more than others?
Yeah, the next question will be who is the players you hate to practice with. So I'm not gonna tell you that, but there is players who we always practice, like Aga, Simona, Pliskova. These girls, we always we have each other numbers and we can text back and forth. So you wanna practice. Sometimes other players, some coaches, they text between them, but with some girls with whom I'm cool, we can talk in between us.
Who's the player you text most often?
Today I got Serena's text. I was really surprised. It took her months to answer me, but I still was
Kinda
very.
busy.
I was still really happy to get her text, and probably Simona or Pliskova, and yeah, probably.
How's Serena doing? Because she's pretty close now with the baby, it seems like.
Yeah. She's. I cannot tell you.
You don't have to say anymore. It's okay.
I know you're like. I'm like.
You're a good politician already.
I'm like this soccer player who gonna score the penalty. You put me the ball in front, and I'm not gonna score you. That's
So, how are you?
I'm doing well, actually. I had a fun couple of videos out there, which was quite fun. I got Canal Sony wrong and said Sanal Coney.
Great.
So.
And how long have you been in the States?
Without a drink.
No jet lag. That's just me. That's just me.
You seem to really enjoy doing these videos. I saw the one that came out of Toronto last week, and it seemed like you were having a ball. Doing the splits and all that silly stuff.
Oh well, yes. I mean, charades and heads up. I commit. I just basically commit. But I do try to make the best out of it and try to enjoy it for what it is, and always an opportunity to improve.
So, are you a good charades taboo player in real life?
Again, I'd use the word committed. Not necessarily. It doesn't necessarily come through in the actual value of the product, but
practice.
But I put myself out there.
When we say committed, do we mean over competitive?
No, we mean committed.
We're doing.
Just committed.
So, have you had time to sort of take in any of the enormity of Wimbledon, or was it? Did you have any time to actually process and enjoy what you got out of that before you coming here?
I think I did a relatively good job of actually enjoying it in the moment. I felt I digested each match and each stage of the tournament quite well, and I didn't feel like I missed out on anything. Once I got to the end, I felt like I really did make the most out of it. But it was nice. I got to be at home for another 2.5 weeks before I left for Toronto. So I definitely made the most out of that, and I got to do some pretty cool things, such as I went to a U2 concert. You did. I say pretty cool things. I did a pretty cool thing, and I got to meet Bono and The Edge, which was I was pretty starstruck.
Oh my god!
How things changed for you in the UK since Wimbledon?
Well, I guess I haven't been there too much to necessarily
They have to dodge it.
Sorry?
They have to dodge it, maybe. Yeah.
Dodge it. What do you mean?
Well, I wondered how much attention was being paid to you now.
In what sense, though?
Media sense, public sense. I mean,
I don't quite understand the question, but I
just wondered how attention has changed toward you since Wimbledon, because you did extremely well.
Well, I guess not much has changed in my day-to-day. I obviously did a great media day up at Salford. Salford. Manchester, basically the BBC place, which was actually good fun. And again, it was something that I took a lot of good things out of. But otherwise, I guess I get recognized a little more outside. But otherwise, generally, life goes on and it's pretty much the same.
So have you I mean, your start so far hasn't been sort of that great, but do you put much store in these things, or is it a case of just getting match time and then obviously the focus will be in New York after here?
Well, obviously I didn't stay as long as I wanted to in Toronto. However, I do take the good things from my match there. I played against a very informed Ekaterina, and she'd just come off the back of winning Washington, so she was coming in into that match with something which I didn't have, which was match routine and getting those matches on the hard court. So I felt I actually did quite well, and then compared to the fact that it was my first match on the hard, I felt I played myself into that match quite well and competed pretty well. Obviously, there's things I would have wanted to do better, but again, I was one point away from coming through that match, so I didn't do too much wrong.
Joe, I mean, watching you go through what you were going through at Wimbledon, just with the attention, and also obviously playing all those matches. I mean, it's all over. How many days do you just completely shut off? I mean, how draining mentally and more mentally than physically, I suppose, were those 2 weeks?
The thing is, I went into those 2 weeks with already playing quite a few matches, so I'd already accumulated quite a bit of fatigue in that sense. So in general, actually, Wimbledon itself wasn't that much more exhausting. It was actually probably my least exhausting experience at Wimbledon so far. So, which is only a positive, because hopefully I'll get the chance to make it a full 2 weeks, and then I'll just feel fresh as a daisy by the end.
You'll be ready for the ball.
Yeah, I'll be ready, committed. Yeah, I think that's also down to how I've been able to mature as well, and like to think keep maturing to be able to deal with these kind of stresses, because hopefully I'll be putting myself in positions where I'll be under these kind of stresses for the majority of my career.
With the elevated profile that you have in the game now, have you found that you've attracted more trolls, be it on the internet, social media? Just people not being very polite or nice in general?
Well, unfortunately, they exist, I think, through all areas of the game. I don't think I actually get more than I did when I was playing the Challenger Tour. I think it's roughly the same. It's just a different pool of people. Unfortunately, there's a lot of keyboard warriors out there who got a little too much time on their hands and not enough imagination to do actually something with it. And unfortunately, it's the world we live in. It's part of not just our life, but other athletes, other like actors, actresses, I guess, singers, and unfortunately, it's a part of it. It's not something that's nice, and it's definitely pick your time to read it, but if you pick it right, you can laugh.
I was going to say, do you have to sort of be quite strict with yourself and not go on straight after a loss, and maybe give it a day, and then be able to have that detachment?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's important to pick your moments. Also, if possible, not to do it yourself, not to clear it out for yourself. But unfortunately, you can't. I guess be fighting with everyone or. So I generally don't reply. I just block.
Are you handling all your social media yourself?
It's a mixture. I do my own posting just because I do try and be authentic. Social media is not something that comes naturally to me. It's something that I've tried to work on because I understand the positives of it as well, and letting the people who do commit their time to follow my career and support me to try to give them an insight a little bit into my life. I'm generally a private person, so again, it's something that I've worked on to try and open up a little bit more. But I think it's also important that I don't spend all my time on there, so I do give some of it to my agent.
How do you balance that desire to be authentic and your true self and all that sort of stuff with what are the responsibilities, quote unquote, of being a professional athlete who has fans, who has interest? How do you walk that line?
Well, I guess for me, it's just being as true to myself as I can. So the things that I do post are things that I want to post, or things that I think are funny. I mean, I have moments, and you could probably ask my boyfriend this when I'm like, oh, that's so funny, that's so good, and I'm going to post it, and he's like, oh no.
So you have an editor, yeah.
I have an editor, but he's officially been hired as my social media manager, just in the sense. No, this is a joke. This is an absolute joke. He just
Don't
takes
post
the photo.
that. That's funny.
Yeah, no, he just takes the photos, which actually makes me feel better because I think I'm great with the lines that I put out. I'm pretty good. I think I'm funny, but I'm not very good at taking photos. And he's actually a photographer, so I'm like, do it. Just take photos.
So he has final say on the filter, or do you have to?
I've gotten better. I've actually I've recently gotten an iPhone, so I'm now really high tech, guys. I'm really high tech.
What did you have before?
Samsung.
Oh, okay, all right. Phew.
I mean, I wasn't in the Stone Ages. I wasn't in like a little Nokia. I mean, you laugh, but I did download the Snake game on my Samsung before. Everyone's played Snake.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
There is no crime in downloading Snake.
But did you not see it on the screen? It actually comes up with like a Nokia phone.
Oh really?
Yeah,
So
so
it's like the Nokia Snake game.
It's the Nokia Snake game.
That's amazing.
I still wouldn't switch to a Samsung, but anyway.
Yeah,
I
well,
digress.
okay. So, yes, now I've gone to an iPhone, so now I feel more creative, I think, just by association.
Who are some of the funnier players on tour then?
Besides me?
Besides you, yes.
obviously.
Comes a distant second to you.
Distant second. Not in the same league, guys. By the way, please take this an all-time issue, because literally last time I joked about Carolina, like, yes, like, buy me food, and it like turned out to me being so mean, and people calling me a bit. There we go, trolls.
Hey.
I was like, guys, it's a joke.
There's no sarcasm font yet.
Yes, there's no sarcasm font. No.
And there's a real lack of context in people's.
Well, that's the thing. So, people, I am actually trying to be funny. What was the question?
I was
Who are some of the funnier players on the WTA Tour, or maybe even some players that you find funny that people would be surprised by?
I think everyone has their moments. I think when you also live this kind of lifestyle where you do come into contact with so many different situations and people and scenarios, that I think everyone has a funny moment here and there for sure. But I mean, for me, I'm good friends with Timea Babos. She's very funny. So I do have a good laugh with her. I think Alina's really funny as well. Who else? I think Serena's quite funny. She's quite sarcastic, and so I have a lot of appreciation for that as well. Yeah, I think those are the moments that probably come to my mind initially.
Do you speak with Timea in English or Hungarian?
No, Hungarian.
Yeah. That's nice.
So it's like a perfect opportunity to talk about everyone in the locker room.
How many languages? Joe, how many languages do you speak?
2. I speak 2 fluently, and I try in Spanish. I try.
Committed.
So how far do you...
Committed, yeah.
Committed.
Yes, committed. Well, actually not committed enough, unfortunately. My parents definitely would like me to be further along with that, but I try.
So do you to honestly sit there and talk about everything?
No, but it's actually interesting because growing up, obviously, you don't necessarily are around a lot of people that speak Hungarian. So Mum and I would have this habit on the tube of, commenting on other people, seeing something and talking about other people and, there, but in Hungarian because no one understands us. But it's interesting because my uncle, my mum's brother, has done the same, but every single time it's been a Hungarian person. So they actually speak back in Hungarian.
Right.
So like at one time, like he was at an intersection. This was back in Sydney, I think, and there was a gentleman in front of him, and he basically in Hungarian is like, "My man, why are you not going?" And then he turns back in Hungarian and says, "Because I can't." So it's quite awkward when you get into that situation, but knock on wood, it hasn't happened to me so far.
I'm dying for the day that it does. So that
Probably will. I mean, sooner or later it will.
So we'll have to get you to translate all the Hungarian Eurovision entries for us then.
Yes. Actually get Timea to do that because she's probably much better with that than me.
Questions. But just looking at this tournament, sorry.
Oh yeah, back to tennis.
I know. We're having so much fun.
So good, Debbie Downer. But it's the goal matches. The goal. I mean, what are you trying to get out of Cincinnati?
Definitely to be here as long as I can, to give myself more opportunities, more of those opportunities like I had last week, a great match against Ekaterina, to really try and get that time on the surface and get myself back into those situations where I get the chance to become a better competitor. And again, we're coming towards the last part of the season, so to make sure that I keep myself healthy, to keep ticking over the good things that I do physically off the court as well, to complement the things I do on court. And yeah, I really want to get to the theme park.
Yeah.
So
You're a thrill seeker?
Yeah, I do. I am a little bit of an adrenaline junkie, a little bit, but I haven't been to a theme park in such a long time. So I know Andrew's keen on going as well. Wim most definitely not keen, but we'll work on Wim. So hopefully we can all
Team building.
Team building. I know, that's what I say. Team building.
Exactly. It's all there.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, can you please insert some
Much sarcasm.
No
worries. So much sarcasm.
Thanks for listening. My name is Jonathan. You can find me on Twitter at tennis_John.
And I'm James. I'm at ElliotJMR. And I'm also kind of manning the Body Serve Twitter.
Yes?
Oh, I mean, we both are. But I'm tweeting almost exclusively from the Body Serve. So follow me for photos, jokes, hopefully.
Oh, you think you're funny?
Perhaps some insight if my brain is working.
I
that
wonder
day.
if Joe Conta will find you funny, because that little bit where she told us who she thought was funny on the WTA that we might not think, that was pretty cool. That
Okay,
whole segment
okay.
I quite enjoyed. Till next time.